So, who was Goldberg's opponent supposed to be at the Royal Rumble? Why did Ric Flair look senile? And what on earth happened to Carlito? This is the Raw Legends Explained. So, let's discuss what happened. So, first of all, Carlito. So, WWE said that Carlito was going to be at the Raw Legends show, and he didn't show up. WWE then said, oh, it was a travel booking issue. That was the reason we couldn't get hold of Carlito. Was it hell? Carlito went onto Twitter and said they forgot to book him. No one bothered to actually reach out. They did the promos with Carlito, but they didn't actually bother to see if he was available and actually say, hey, do you want to show up for this Raw Legends night? Which is absolutely hilarious. So the next one, next major botch for Raw Legends night was Ric Flair. So Ric Flair, for no reason, tripped Charlotte and then pretends he's upset about it. Charlotte says, get the hell out of here, you old man, get into the back, don't come out here, stop ruining my matches. What was supposed to happen was Ric Flair's on the outside and Lacey Evans is supposed to flirt with him, and while Lacey Evans is flirting with him, Peyton Royce is supposed to do a double reversal Irish whip into the ropes. So Ric Flair thinks he's tripping Peyton Royce because he's not looking at her because he's distracted by flirting with Lacey Evans. Unfortunately, Lacey Evans flirts with Ric Flair much earlier than what's supposed to happen, and Peyton Royce doesn't do the double reversal Irish whip, it just does a regular Irish whip to Charlotte Flair into the ropes, and Ric Flair clearly sees it's Charlotte and then just decides to trip her anyway, because that's what the ending of the match is. So that was all horribly botched. So now let's get on to the real matter. Who was Goldberg supposed to fight at the Royal Rumble? So leading up to Raw Legends night, what was supposed to happen was Goldberg was going to be in a match against Randy Orton. So Randy Orton had all these promos backstage where he was disrespecting all the legends, and the final match of the night was supposed to be Randy Orton versus Jeff Hardy. But as is the current trend of things on Raw, they changed it last minute. So they changed the final match from Randy Orton versus Jeff Hardy to Drew McIntyre versus Keith Lee for the title. And they also changed the Royal Rumble match. Goldberg was supposed to have a match against Randy Orton, but because of the lack of ratings and such, they changed it. And now it's going to be Goldberg versus Drew McIntyre for the title, but no one bothered to change Goldberg's promo. So at the end of the night, Goldberg comes out and he shouts at Drew McIntyre for being disrespectful to all the legends, which doesn't make any sense, because Drew McIntyre is one of the nicest guys and one of the most respectful champions of all time. But it makes a lot more sense if that promo was meant to be for Randy Orton, because Randy Orton goes about backstage doing all these things to, telling Big Show that he's a piece of crap, telling Mark Henry to get the hell out of here, shouting at Ric Flair saying, you're not the Ric Flair that taught me, everything that I knew. Randy Orton does all these things and nothing happens to him. He gets no comeuppance for it. But Drew McIntyre does nothing, and suddenly Goldberg's like, oh, I'm going to show you, and I'm going to take that title off of you. So this is what was supposed to happen. It was supposed to be Goldberg having a match with Randy Orton at the Royal Rumble, and it was supposed to be I'm not sure who Drew McIntyre was supposed to fight at the Royal Rumble. People think probably Sheamus. That makes sense because of the storyline that's been going that way, which makes me wonder what storyline they've got for Sheamus now, because it looked like it was going to be Drew McIntyre versus Keith Lee on Raw, and then that would lead up to a Royal Rumble match against Sheamus for the title, who obviously Sheamus had been fighting against Keith Lee for the title opportunity. So very strange, but a lot of people think that it's because of the ratings that's the issue. That WWE was trying to compete with AEW. Raw lost the ratings war to AEW, which is a first, and one of the latest Raws had the worst viewers in I think ever. I think even worse than 1994, which is horrible, absolutely terrible. And I mean, a lot of it isn't WWE's fault. I mean, a lot of it is this pandemic. You know, they don't have the fans. They can't do, you know, all the stuff that they would normally be able to do. But it's a real shame. So yeah, that's what was supposed to happen. It's supposed to be Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus, with supposedly a rumoured Brock Lesnar returning, and then it was going to be Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre for the rematch at this year's WrestleMania, which I don't see happening at all. I think maybe that was plans made a long time ago. There was also supposed to be plans of Randy Orton winning the title and then Edge winning the Royal Rumble and then getting a rematch of the greatest wrestling match ever too. But that didn't really go over well the first time, so maybe they've just dropped that angle. Other big rumours were that Roman Reigns is going to fight The Rock for the title because of the tribal chief and the head of the table and, you know, the ruler of Samoa. But The Rock has said he would have a match with Roman, but he wants a year-long build-up. So it looks like Drew McIntyre versus The Rock isn't going to happen at this year's WrestleMania. So it doesn't look like that there's going to be a surprise entrance from The Rock and The Rock's going to win the Royal Rumble, as cool as that would be. So it looks like a lot of the big plans that they might have had, they're maybe putting on the back burner and waiting for the next WrestleMania, which hopefully there'll be fans for, because there very likely won't be fans for this year's WrestleMania. So, yes, it's disappointing. What do you guys think of Raw Legends? I wasn't very impressed with it, if I'm honest. I think they could have done quite a bit more. And apparently Hulk Hogan lives quite close to the Thunderdome, so he mentioned that when he was at Raw Legends and says that he wouldn't mind having more of a backstage role with Raw. And generally when Hulk Hogan's in a backstage role, it means that you see more of Hulk Hogan on television. So the big rumour now is that Hulk Hogan might be Drew McIntyre's manager, and then you'd have Hulk Hogan versus Goldberg. You know, well, Hulk Hogan in the corner of Drew McIntyre against Goldberg, you know, which is exactly what killed off WCW. So I don't know why the hell WWE's doing that, unless they're actually trying to lose the war against AEW, which is weird because AEW is a much smaller company. But there we go. So that's it for the Raw news. I was just playing a bit of Raw in the background, just something to keep the animation going. But yeah, what's your predictions for the Royal Rumble this year? My two picks for winning are possibly Daniel Bryan, possibly Big E. But Big E's got the Intercontinental title now, so maybe they're cooling off on Big E. I don't see any big surprise entrance wins. It would be very, very cool if Brock Lesnar made a surprise entrance and won. It would be even better if The Rock made a surprise entrance and won. Unfortunately, I don't see either of those happening at a WrestleMania that doesn't have any audience. So, yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think the Royal Rumble champion is going to go after the Universal title or the World title? Do you think The Miz is going to cash in, or do you think he's going to wait until WrestleMania, or even after WrestleMania? Who knows? But yeah. Well, let me know in the comments below, and we shall see you all later.